No, 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 no. How do you miss on the big things? Like Netflix, why would you get rid of one of the biggest parts to one of the most beloved and biggest characters in the TV show in terms of his character development? I just didn't understand that at all. They missed and they changed some of the biggest things that make the show what it is. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I go by J2ATV. And today we're going to be diving into a little bit more of the live action Avatar content because the show just dropped and who doesn't want to talk about more Avatar? We're going to be diving a little bit deeper into Sokka's character and kind of some of the things that came along, changed, and that I just flat out didn't like. With that being said, if you guys want to see more Avatar content on the page, please like and smash the subscribe button for your boy. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Also, hop down in the comments and let me know what types of things you guys would like to have me talk about on the page in general, but also specifically about the Avatar live action series. If you watched my previous video that I posted a couple days ago in regards to some of my first initial thoughts about the series, my initial takes to Sokka's character, the acting, and just the overall character portrayal were actually pretty good for the most part. I thought that they fit in a lot of really good jokes and tried to best envelop his personality as best they could. A lot of the jokes and the kind of misfortune that made up the character of Sokka in the cartoon, I thought that Netflix did a really good job, and the acting, honestly, of trying to incorporate some of those things and bring that together in his character in the live action adaptation. You know, in the cartoon, he gets stuck in the ground and Fufu Cuddly Poops comes along, and then he's making these jokes, and you know, that is who Sokka is. And for the most part, guys, I think Netflix did a pretty decent job of that. But they even tackle some of the desire for his father's approval stuff. Katara's thing is, you know, she misses her mom and she feels guilty over her death. Sokka's thing is he never felt like he got his father's approval and lived up to be the man or the warrior that he was expected to be and that his dad wanted him to be. And I thought they touched on that pretty good. They even got right that, you know, in the beginning, Sokka was a lot less friendly and skeptical of a lot of people. And he was actually very overprotective. He was extremely overprotective of Katara and the people that he end up coming to care about, which I think is very much so who Sokka's character, you know, was. And they did a good job with those things. However, how do you miss on the big things? Like Netflix, they got a lot of the small details right, or the things that are nuanced, or like some of the more OG fans would point out and like question whether they were there or not, but they missed and they changed some of the biggest things that make the show what it is. Like, how is it that the first chance you get, the first opportunity that comes to have the start to a major part of Sokka's character development comes along and you fumble the bag? In the show, Sokka is sexist. He starts off sexist. He makes all types of comments to Katara about women do this, men should do this. You know, he was the sole adult male that was in the village. You know, they even changed that. In the live action adaptation, there was like older kids, teenage boys, and other things that were kind of bullying and picking on Sokka, which never was the case in the cartoon. Sokka was the sole male, responsible guy that was left behind when all the other men went to war, and he was expected to look after his people. And I understand why he could have developed some of those misconceptions about male and female gender roles and responsibilities. I get that. However, I don't know if this was Netflix trying to be PC about everything, or if this is just something that they generally decided that they would take off, because you do later on get the sexist elements that come from Master Paku in terms of their culture and not allowing women to battle and train, and Katara's whole thing and kind of stand up to him. They added that in, so it can't even be that. It can't be the fact that Netflix didn't want to, you know, go down the non-PC line, because they did end up keeping that the same later. So why would you then get rid of one of the biggest parts to one of the most beloved and biggest characters in the TV show in terms of his character development? I just didn't understand that at all. The biggest place where you see this, and what I'm referring to, is when Sokka and Suki first come into contact, and you know, and Avatar and the gang come up and they go to Kyoshi Island and they meet up with the Kyoshi warriors. During that whole span, you know, Sokka and Suki have a little thing going on, yeah, but the most interesting piece about their visit there, besides the, you know, Avatar Kyoshi stuff, was the fact that Sokka was trying to prove to Suki and prove to the women that he was a capable warrior, and that men are more dominant than women when it comes to those types of fightings and combat and those things. And he gets embarrassed. And he ends up having to humble himself, go to Suki, and ask for her to train him in combat. That is a major shift in the beginning to Sokka's character development in the show, and just completely taking that out, like just all the good stuff that they did previously that I liked for Sokka's character kind of gets skewed, and I don't want to say fleshed out the window, but it's just like, why? It was such an unnecessary change that I think hurt the show and also his character moving forward. Because when you think about it, that is going to affect not only Sokka's character moving forward, but some of the other biggest moments that fans love in the show. And again, I get the fact that they had to make changes. For example, Suki and Sokka's relationship does not end up developing to the point where they're kissing and all of those things until a little bit later on. They do share like some intimate moments, but it's not as much as it ends up being like later on in the show. I get that because of pacing and just the amount of time that they have to do certain things and fit it in. I get that they have to speed up the process a bit, but they had that come before the UA stuff, which makes no sense because one of the most beloved and famous scenes from Avatar the cartoon is the "my first girlfriend turned into the moon, that's rough buddy" moment between Sokka and Zuko, which we're not gonna get.
My first girlfriend turned into the moon. That's rough, buddy.
Like, some of the changes I just feel are unnecessary. I don't want this to turn into a video where I'm just complaining about the whole show and nitpicking small details and different things. But I think that, again, with one of the most beloved and biggest characters in the show, you want to make as little, I think, changes to those people as possible. And you don't do major changes for no reason that make no sense, that make the show worse. That's my take on it. And, you know, even some of the stuff that they did with some of the more minor characters that are involved in this whole thing that I'm talking about, like Suki, like, who the is this? Who is this? Suki don't have no mom in the cartoon. And like they try to end up having it turn into this whole thing where, you know, Suki wants to be different and doesn't want to be a warrior, and it's her mom that's forcing her to be that way and like keeping her away from boys and like all this stuff. Suki was never like that. Suki was a rough, raw, like classic Earth style person who loved combat, was a true warrior, and that played a lot into the fact of, you know, Sokka's admiration and having to humble himself and go to her and admit that women are capable of being that way. You know, I think if their goal was to like eliminate some of the sexist elements from the show, taking away from the fact that Suki is an actual warrior and making it like her mom is forcing her to be that, I think works actually against that whole goal of what they were trying to accomplish with that, if that's the case. But that's just me. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. I can make a whole other video going on about Sokka's relationship and interactions with Yue and the boyfriend, the arranged partner for her and all that, which they completely changed. Some of it I get, some of it I don't, but again, that has to be a whole other video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Am I spot on with my opinion of some of the changes that they made to Sokka's character? Do you guys like it? Do you not? What are your opinions on the series overall? If some of you haven't finished the whole thing, you can give me your opinions up to the point that you've seen. And also, guys, of course, let me know what else you want me to talk about on this channel in regards to the Avatar stuff and other anime or TV media. With that being said, guys, before you leave, please make sure you subscribe below. Smash the subscribe button and check out some of these other videos on my page. As always, guys, I really appreciate all the continued support. But until next time, J2A TV out.
You could be my queen if you with it or not. Too many times I feel like I'm out of love. Is you really rocking with me or